How long will you be staying for?
The grizzled man behind the reception counter asked listlessly. Just one night, I said. The doom and gloom of my countenance seemed to affect even this lackadaisical man. He stirred and took a long, thoughtful glance at me. He disappeared from view as he reached beneath the counter to rummage around for a bit. He soon surfaced, holding a key attached to a dark green key holder. The key holder shone under the light.
I think this room will suit your needs,
he said as he placed the key on the counter. Thanks. Can I pay in cash? I asked, reaching out to grab the key. The key holder was surprisingly cool against my skin, and I opened my palm to take a good look at it. It seemed to be a gemstone of sorts. I nearly chuckled. This rundown place, yet they have gemstones on their keys, I thought. Well, at least they're trying. He nodded.
That would be $33.
I tallied all the notes I had and got to a total of $25. Feeling anxious, I began to count out the coins carefully. Yes, I did have $33. I pocketed the remaining $2.50 as the man swept the money off the counter and into his cash box.
Right, your room number is 33. If you need anything, dial 0 on the phone in your room and ask for me. I'm Ernie.
Ha, if I'm staying in room 1, would it be $1? I couldn't resist saying as I walked off.
Every room's $33,
he said deadpan. I shrugged. Worth a shot, I said as I started to walk up the stairs. I was panting by the time I got to the 3rd floor, where room 33 was. Out of habit and superstition, I knocked twice on the door and waited a few moments before I inserted the key and opened the door. My mother used to say that we had to be respectful to spirits who could be lounging in hotel rooms, and to knock twice to warn them that we were about to invade their space. It would lessen the chances of them taking offense at our abrupt entrance, and they would hopefully leave us alone. The room was sparse but adequate. A bed, a drawer, a closet, and a toilet. That was all I needed to be comfortable for the night. Putting my backpack down, I settled on the bed. It was a little too soft for my liking, but beggars couldn't be choosers. I plugged in my phone to the outlet. It took a few minutes of charging before it would start up. I pulled my phone out and checked the text messages I had. None. My heart sank deeper into the heavy sludge it was already in. Of course no one texted. Who did I have left? Who cared? I checked my emails. No news from any of the publishing companies. Life fucking sucks, I muttered to no one in particular. It has been nearly 4 months since my parents kicked me out. It's been a long time coming. When I first dropped out of college to pursue writing full-time, they had blown their gaskets and gone apeshit on me. But after a month or two, they had calmed down. Fine, son. If you want to do this, you better do it right, my father had finally said one day, after they realized I was serious about it, and that I was not going to go back to college no matter what they said. You give it all you have, and we'll support you. Just for a year. If nothing comes of it by the end of the year, you've got to buck up and buckle down with a proper job. You got me? I had been so relieved to hear that at that time. So relieved, so jubilant. I had their support. I could focus on my writing, create a brilliant masterpiece, and etch my mark on the world. 1 year is more than I need, I had thought. To cut a very long story short, I did not get it done in a year. Nearly 3 years later, all I had got were multiple bills from beta readers, dozens of query letter drafts, a long list of agents and publishers, and rejection letters from editors and agents, plus a novel that I couldn't quite perfect. When I still refused to get a proper job, insisting on polishing the novel and my queries, my parents snapped. I was, according to them, spoiled rotten, coddled, entitled. I didn't know the value of money and a paying job. I had to learn things the hard way, they said, and so they kicked me out. My mother had secretly given me an envelope of cash before I left, but that was that. I had $500 on me and nowhere to go. Miserable and scared, I had called my best friend, Teddy, venting to him about my situation. Like the good friend he was, he had immediately offered up his home to me. I knew he would understand. Teddy had also dropped out of college to pursue his passion, being a barista. He was doing great too. Teddy understood, right up until his girlfriend began complaining about me cramping their space. I overheard a furious, whispered conversation that stated in no uncertain terms that I needed to go. He finally asked to have a chat with me. I didn't want to inconvenience him any further. I have thick skin, but it wasn't that thick. I shoved down the sense of dread and misery boiling up within me and told him I would leave, that I would find a place somewhere, that he need not worry about me. I was scared stiff about how I would survive, but I knew I couldn't burden him any longer. We were all good up until the point when I was about to step out his doorway, when he suddenly said, "Hey man, you know, your folks really have a point. Writing is a tenuous business. A proper job pays the bills, you know?" "Not you too, man. Not you too," I said in a warning tone. "I don't want to have to say this, but I have to, man. You've spent what, 2, 3 years of your life pursuing this writing thing, and I think it's about time you get a job, you know? You can't just spend the rest of your life crossing your fingers and hoping that things work out. You have to find a way to pay the bills, man," Teddy said, ignoring the icy stare I was giving him. "Hey, you want me gone? I'm gone. But don't tell me to give up on my dreams. Don't tell me I need to be another cog in the machine, a slave to the system, a fucking puppet, doing shit work just to pay the bills," I spat, the venom in my tone surprising myself. "Everyone works to pay the bills, Joe. You're not special. You gotta suck it up and face the real world," Teddy said, frustration creeping into his voice. "You suck it up, you sucker," I said in a rage, cringing inwardly at my pitiful comeback. Those were my last words to him before I stormed off. I'm not proud of it, for sure. I didn't really have any other friends, none that were close enough to offer me a place to stay. I was an introvert who was happy to just have one really good friend. Anyway, initially I slept and ate at homeless shelters. But after 2 weeks of frequenting the 2 shelters around, they got curious and checked my identification. I soon realized I didn't qualify for their shelters, given that I technically had a family and a home to go back to. So for the past week, I had to spend fitful nights trying to fall asleep outdoors while worrying about being mugged. After paying for my food and necessities while staying with Teddy, and after buying a sleeping bag upon my eviction from Teddy's place, I had barely $30 left. I tried my hardest to ration the $30, eating only bread and canned beans for the first 2 weeks out on the street. Still, the money went quickly. Finally, starving, unable to stand the smell on myself and sorely missing a shower, I had begun to beg. People offered me food, coins, sometimes notes, and over a week, I found myself somewhat fed and with more than $30 on me. I went to the dingiest hotel I could find and prayed that their rates were cheap, which was how I ended up here. I sighed and took off my clothes. The shower felt amazing. The water pressure was weak, but that didn't matter. The sheer sensation of the water hitting my skin, cleansing away the filth and grime. Well, if you haven't been stinking for a few weeks while camped outdoors, you wouldn't understand that joy, that beauty of it. They even had a bar of soap. I didn't care that it wasn't packaged, that it looked used. I just lathered myself all over and luxuriated in the foam and fragrance. I washed all my clothes and underwear in the sink too. It would feel amazing to have clean clothes again. I nearly used up the bar of soap. Finally, all cleaned up and wrapped in a towel with my clothes hanging out to dry, I lay down on the bed and felt the exhaustion of the past week seep into my bones. Staring at the roof over my head, I found myself tearing up. "I don't want to leave," I found myself whispering aloud. "Dear God, please don't let them kick me out tomorrow. Please let me stay right here forever. I don't want to go back out there." I gave in to the heaviness of my eyelids and swiftly fell into a dreamless slumber. When I woke up the next day, I was confused by the sensation of a soft bed beneath my body and the roof over my head. It's amazing how quickly we adapt to our circumstances. 1 week in the outdoor life, and I was already unused to shelter. I spent some time just enjoying the feel of the bed and the comfort of having 4 walls around me. Then reality hit me. I had to check out today. Probably soon. I was flooded by a surge of apprehension and dread. I had to leave these four walls behind soon, be back out all alone. I forced down those feelings and drew up a semblance of bravado. It had to be done. I touched my drying clothes. They were still a little damp, but I could sun them on the streets. As I packed, my phone chirped. Excited, I grabbed it. Was it my parents? Did they want me back? It was Teddy. He was worried about me, wanted to know how I was. I rolled my eyes. I hadn't replied the 2 texts he had sent since we had parted on those terms. Then I felt guilty. He had been an awesome friend all my life, and I knew I was being a shit friend. Sighing, I typed in response. Hey dude, no worries. I found a place to stay for the night. The hotel. I frowned. I had tried to type in the name of the hotel, but it kept deleting itself. Oh yes, I can't type it here either. I'll just call it the WT Hotel. Like WTH, you know? I'll call it the WT Hotel just so the word doesn't keep deleting itself. So I wanted to type in the WT Hotel just to let Teddy know where I was and that I was okay. But the name just kept deleting itself, disappearing once written. Finally, fed up, confused, and honestly a little freaked out, I just typed, "Some hotel near your place," and sent it to him. I also told him there was no need to text again. Thank you very much for your concern. I know, I couldn't resist it. I'm an asshole. I shrugged on my backpack and left my room. While walking down the corridor, a door opened, and a woman stepped out, still adjusting her hair. I forced a smile and a gruff, "Morning." She didn't respond. She didn't even look up. She acted like she didn't see me, just kept tugging at her ponytail. I shrugged. Women had to be cautious around strange men, and I didn't blame her. I walked by her, then heard a thud from behind. I turned around to see that she had dropped her phone. She was retying her ponytail at this point. I reached down to grab her phone. It didn't budge. I frowned. I gripped it tight with my fingers and pulled, leaning back with my whole body weight. It didn't move. Didn't even seem to shift at all. I gave up after a while, panting and nonplussed. She finished tying her hair and bent down to grab her phone. She picked it up, just like that. Jaw hanging, I stared at her. She tucked the phone in her bag and walked off. "Excuse me, ma'am, did you see that?" I ran after her, asking. She didn't react. I reached out to grab her shoulder, but my grip did nothing to stop her. She just walked on, her shoulder sliding out of my grasp like my hand was made of feather. What the hell? I thought. I walked down the steps behind her. Ernie nodded at her as she left, and she simply nodded back. Perplexed, I turned to Ernie. "Hey, Ernie, something's a little off, man. That lady, she just completely walked by me like I wasn't there, and her phone, I couldn't pick it up." My voice trailed off when I realized Ernie couldn't hear me, or at least he was acting like it. I went up to him and shook him, or tried to rather. He slipped out of my grasp and leant back in his seat, like I wasn't there. Yelling in his ear didn't get a response either. Flabbergasted, I turned tail and tried to get out of the hotel. The door, which had opened so easily for that woman just a minute ago, refused to budge. I was stuck here. I must have been struggling with the door for a good 10 minutes or so, occasionally yelling at Ernie when someone else walked down to the reception area and bid Ernie goodbye. I tried yelling to get his attention, then tried to grab things around me to throw at him, but the things wouldn't budge. He too acted like I wasn't there. I tried to block his way, but my body just got pushed forward with his steps. And when he opened the main door and stepped through it, I was pushed to one side by some unseen barrier, and he left, the door swinging shut behind him. I stood there speechless for a long time, staring at the door, then at Ernie. I finally walked back to my room in a daze. I couldn't interact with objects in this hotel, it seemed, and no one could see or hear me, but the things in my room, I could touch them. Why? I thought about it for a while. Maybe I just couldn't interact with anything outside of my room, or just when I was being observed, and I couldn't leave this hotel for some reason. What were the rules here? I pulled out my phone. "Hey Teddy, something's really weird. I can't get out of this hotel. Please come help me." I typed and pressed send. The sending failed. I had managed to reply to him just before. What the hell was up? "Hey Teddy, all's good," I typed and pressed send. The message went through. What was going on? I typed another random message of greeting, but this time it didn't go through. Finally, biting my lip, I called my parents. The call failed. Then my phone screen went black. I must have panicked for a full hour before a thought struck me. What's so bad about being stuck here, being unseen here? That line of thought stopped me mid-panic. A weird calm settled upon me then. There was nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Here, I had a place to stay. A safe, warm bed, a shower, a toilet. I could stay here forever, free of responsibilities, free of societal pressures. My novel was out there in the world already, whether it ever got published or not. Wait, what about food? I thought. Then I realized that I wasn't hungry at all. My usual morning hunger pangs were non-existent. I wasn't thirsty either. My eyes widened. Maybe I didn't need food or water here, and I had a place to stay forever. If I wished, maybe, and I didn't have to care about anything ever again. I never had to work a day in my life. Apart from writing that one spectacular masterpiece that would set me up for life, wasn't that all I ever wanted? To never have to be in the rat race, ever? Just like that, I stopped trying. I let go of the anxiety and decided to just bask in the joy of being a bum. For a long time, I would sneak into people's rooms when they opened the door and sit there watching TV with them. I sat and watched as couples argued, friends laughed together, and families tried to make a bad holiday work. It was like having live TV before me. Besides, I found that when I was unobserved, I could sometimes, with incredible concentration, shift things around the hotel just the slightest bit. It gave me a wild sense of control. I also liked to mess with some of the guests, shift their stuff a little, make them think something was off. I soon found out that the notepad in my hotel room refilled itself. No matter how many pages I tore out, it would be full again the next day. Same for the soap and the ink in the pen. There was really no reason to leave this place. I've always been a homebody. In fact, once, caught up in writing, I didn't leave my room for 2 months, except to use the toilet and to shower. I ate in my room, wrote in my room, then fell asleep. Rinse, repeat. My parents got worried. I needed sunshine. I needed to take a walk, they told me, but I refused. Simply because I felt zero need to. I was happy staying in my room typing. Teddy tried to ask me out, probably at my parents' behest, but I just didn't want to leave the house. So, initially, being in a whole hotel with free reign over the space within, and complete privacy, seemed like more than ideal for me. I thought I could stay there forever, but as the months passed, my views began to shift. I slowly realized that I did indeed have the capacity for cabin fever. I found myself longing to leave the hotel, see the outside world. Plus, I was beginning to miss conversations. I talked at people, sure, but they never responded. I thought I was introverted, that I didn't need social chit-chat or company. But shit, 5 full months of being completely ignored, treated like you didn't exist, that's a different level of isolation. I could feel my grip on reality loosening. The final straw was when Teddy showed up. I had no idea how he found out where I was, but there he was, at the reception one day. He spent a good few minutes just explaining to Ernie that he had to talk to me, that my last known location was here. He showed Ernie a photograph of me. I watched, speechless, as Ernie told Teddy that I had indeed stayed for a night 5 months or so ago, but that I had left in the morning. That freaking liar. "Do you know where he went?" Teddy asked.
No idea, he didn't say much.
Ernie replied. "It's just that, well, I've been searching everywhere for him for the past month. I went to all the homeless shelters. I looked everywhere, all the hotels nearby, and, well, the only lead I got was this lady. She's homeless. She said she's usually camped out across the road. She told me that she recognized Joe, that he went into your hotel. She noticed him because it was obvious to her that he was homeless, from how he looked, and she remembered thinking that she might just save up too, to stay here once in a while. She didn't notice him leaving the next day," Teddy poured out. Ernie simply shrugged.
Maybe she just didn't see him leave. I don't know what to say, lad. He definitely left. She was right, though. I could guess he was homeless from the state he was in. Anyway, it's been a long time. I can't really tell you much.
I hissed in anger. Of course, no one reacted. Teddy sighed after a long pause. Well, it can't be helped then, but He sighed another heavy sigh. You know, his dream finally came true. A publishing house sent a letter to my place. They're interested in publishing his novel. It's a small indie publisher, but I know he would have been so happy. That's been his dream for so long, and now he's nowhere to be found, and Teddy ruffled his hair in frustration. Worry creased his brows. My jaw dropped. My novel? A publisher was interested? Which one? Which small indie publisher was this? While living with Teddy, I had sent out my novel to more publishers, with Teddy's address in the contact details. Which ones did I send it to? I hadn't checked my email in months. My phone hadn't been working. Besides, what was the point, when nothing good ever came in the mail? Teddy, I'm here! I hollered, waving my arms in his face, hoping against hope that he would notice. He didn't. I yelled and tugged at him all the way until he left. Then I sank to the floor, dejected. My novel would be published, finally, but here I was, stuck in this damn hotel. I began to rage, slamming my fists on the door, running around, trying to shatter things. Nothing happened, of course. I'm going to wreck the hotel, I threatened loudly. Then I ran up the stairs. Once unseen, I began trying to break the nearest picture frame. I smashed my fist into it again and again, but nothing happened. Then finally a crack formed in the glass.
Hey, stop that!
A voice said behind me. It was a small, soft voice, but it was cold. I turned around and saw a little girl, around 7 or 8, standing there, looking straight at me. I felt electricity shoot down my spine, a mixture of thrill at finally being seen and talked to by someone, and at the same time, a cold fear that arose the moment I laid eyes on her. She was just a normal girl, don't get me wrong. She looked reasonably healthy, other than being extremely pale. She had a normal face, normal body, no blood dripping from her eyes or anything like that. But there was something off about her. Maybe it was just her tone, the iciness of it, almost threatening. No, there was something else. Her face didn't hold the expressions you would expect of a child. Her face held the dead-eyed, uncaring look of a soldier who had been through countless wars and seen untold bloodshed. Her eyes had the cool, withering glance of someone who has seen too much of the world to ever be fazed by anything again. Her clothes, too, seemed odd. She was draped in a white, frilly dress that seemed to be made of silk and lace. I looked around just to make sure she was looking at me. Yup, she was. You can see me? I asked, my voice trembling with anticipation and nerves.
Of course,
she said. I nearly flinched. I couldn't get used to that icy tone, especially on a child that young. Oh my God, what's going on here? Why can't anyone see me? I asked, still reeling from getting a response from anyone at all. She giggled then, breaking into a sudden display of childlike glee.
I'm not God, but I answered your prayers, silly,
she said, her voice suddenly coy and buoyant at the same time. That sudden transition to youthfulness threw me off. It gave me the creeps. What prayers? I asked, beginning to look around for a place to run.
You wanted to stay here forever,
she burst out, eyes opened wide and filled with jubilance. No, not forever. I don't want to be here anymore, I mustered the courage to say. Her face fell, then it hardened into an impenetrable mask.
And why not?
She asked, her voice once again chilly, reserved. I have a life to go back to. I'm glad I got to stay when I needed it, but I really want to go back now. Could you help me? I asked, despite the sinking sensation that she was not here to help. She stared at me for a long time, her eyes steely, and she didn't blink even once.
You can have a life here too,
she insisted. How? I'm trapped in this hotel. I can't write. I can't get my novel published. I can't do anything. I cried in exasperation. A look of hate filled her face.
That's on you, loser. I have plenty of fun here.
Her tone was venomous, spiteful yet with a touch of petulance. She pronounced the word loser unnaturally, like she was mimicking it from somewhere. I'm sorry, I said, my nerves tightening. Hey, I'm sure you've fun. I did too, but it's been 5 months. I think it's time for me to move on. Part of me wondered why I was reasoning with her, but I felt a strange certainty that she was the one keeping me here, and that she would be the one to be able to let me go.
5 months? Phooey!
She shrieked, and I covered my ears. Her mask of aloofness had cracked, and she was back to her childlike state.
I've been here for 129 years.
She whooped as she ran in a circle, brushing her hand on the walls of the corridor. The sight of her doing that opened up a heavy void within me. I didn't know what else to say, other than to state my plea again. I want to get back to my life. I need to write. I want to tell stories, please.
You can tell stories here.
She said, a twisted smile painting her face. How? I can't even post anything. I've just been writing on the notepad and I don't want to just write stories. I want others to see them. But I can't, not while I'm stuck here. I begged. She tilted her head and considered me. Then she broke into a bright smile.
Well,
She said cheerily.
you can't leave, but
She said, interrupting my protest.
you can write stories. I'll let you post them. You can't ask others for help, though.
She said. I can write and post stories? I asked, an idea forming in my head.
Yes, but you can absolutely not write anything that lets others know where you are.
She said. I want to write about my story here. It's been so incredible and fascinating. I want to write about this, can I? I asked, struggling to keep the tremor from my voice. She frowned and pouted as if trying to figure out my intentions. Then she giggled.
Sure, but you can't write about where you are, who you are, or give any details that could lead to people coming here to find you.
She said. Yes, I promise, I said, wondering how I could get help. I would have to think of something. Then her icy mask went back on.
I see you're thinking of what to do, finding a loophole. Don't try that, or things will become really, really difficult for you.
She said, her tone once again collected and distant.
Others have tried that, and
Here she shook her head sadly.
I had to do what I had to do.
I felt a stab of raw horror in my gut as I realized that I wasn't the first she had done this to, but that I seemed to be the only one around. What had happened to the rest? I gulped and put on a brave face. Of course I won't. I just want to tell the story. She smiled then and cheerfully guided me to my room.
Here,
She announced exultantly, holding up my phone. It was working once again.
tell your story, Joe.
She said merrily.
But remember, no details. Or you know what would happen.
She continued, her voice suddenly cold again. I couldn't get over my unease at her switches in tone. I've been typing out this whole story since. She's just here, next to me, occasionally peeking at my screen to see what I'm typing. Giggling at times, chiding at others. She's so kind, you know. She's letting me have all the creative direction I want. Even lets me write less than pleasant, sometimes downright mean things. That's because she's so forgiving, so understanding of my need to be honest about my thoughts in my writing. I'm so grateful to her for letting me do this, for letting me be a writer with so little restrictions. Joe and Teddy are made-up names, of course. I keep to the rules, I definitely do. I respect her wishes. She's done so much for me. So just wanted to share this cool experience I've had with you guys. Hope you will one day get a chance to enjoy a hotel as amazing as this one. Hello, creepy community. Thank you for watching. I also want to give a big thank you to my members. I truly appreciate your support. If you're looking for a similar story, check out the one on screen. Lastly, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay creepy and see you in the next story.